Hey, everybody. You have arrived at your final destination for the day, I hope. Whatever. This is WagerTalk TV. I'm your host, Tony Finn. You are listening or watching Faded with Finn. Real quickly, we're coming off a week, the first week, NFL Week 1, the first Faded with Finn in the NFL. And we were fortunate enough to go 2-0. So let's see if we can't rinse and repeat and make a little change, a little paper, maybe even some dead presidents. We're going to discuss two games, two fades. The first one being Patriots at the Steelers, New England at Pittsburgh. And to some surprise, it won't be a big surprise to most of you that are experienced gamers, and that is that Bill Belichick and the Patriots are favorites going into Pittsburgh. It should be somewhat of a surprise. This is an overreaction to TJ Watt, his injury, and the possible injury to running back for Pittsburgh. All those injuries, they mean something. They really do. However, without those two players, without TJ Watt, even if Pittsburgh has to go to a running back by committee, they're better than the Patriots, and they probably should be favored even if this game was in Gillette in New England. The Steelers, first off, they come in off a road law or off a win against Cincinnati as almost touchdown dogs. Now, the Patriots were dogs. They went to Miami, and Miami certainly has given them issues. They've given Pittsburgh or New England issues over the last couple of years and are the last team, I think the only team, honestly, that was beaten Belichick, 2 or 3 times in a row, in league play or divisional play. So that said, now it's 3 in a row, I think. So nevertheless, the odds makers have made New England a small road favorite. And we're going to throw that out the window. It's not enough points where if we're fortunate to take the points and win or lose by 1, then we can cover the number. I suggest here that you not only fade the Patriots, but you take the Steelers and just take the money line. You can get a plus 120. You might even get 25 cents. As we get closer to kickoff, I believe the Steelers will this game will come down to a pick 'em. There's going to be some sharp money that'll come in on Pittsburgh for several reasons. Jones, quarterback for New England, isn't healthy, got the bad back. All reports he's going to play. All reports are they saw him bending over, picking stuff up at practice. So good for New England fans. However, this is in the ketchup bottle. Kicking in the ketchup bottle, if any of all you know Pittsburgh, know that area and the history, it's difficult. Now, that said, again, Pittsburgh is a much better defensive team than New England. And as really as inept as they've been offensively over the last year, and even in last week in week 1, they could have done a lot of things differently, and I think would have been better. I trust Tomlin more than I trust Belichick right now. Belichick's casual. New England's not playing well. They didn't play in preseason. This is a week 1 first game fade of the 2 games we're going to do, and that is fading the Patriots. Take the Steelers as a home dog in the ketchup bottle. They go 2-0. Now we're going to lead. We're just going to go right into this. I don't know. I haven't talked to the producers. I'm assuming we're going to go right in to the second game. In the second game, I'll try to be a little shorter than I was on that. I actually spoke more on Pittsburgh and New England than I wanted to. I'm that confident that the right side to be on in that game is Pittsburgh. Now we're going to talk about the Eagles and Vikings. And as a preface, and to be completely transparent, listen, I'm a big advocate of the Eagles. I'm a fan of the Eagles. In fact, I did a show with quite a few shows, but one with the great Teddy Covers. And both of us spoke highly of the Eagles. We both believed they would win that division, the NFC East. This is before Dallas had some injury issues with their all-pro quarterback. So I still think they're going to win that division, but a lot came out of week 1. There was a lot of evidence and a lot of little subtleties in that game that would make one worry if you're an Eagles fan. Not just being competitive week to week, but doing the things you need to do to be a champion, to be a winner, to be in, basically to qualify for postseason play. 38-35 loss to the Eagles last week with the Detroit Lions. If you flash back to last year, if you remember, it's a much different situation. Last year, They lost to the Eagles 44-6, but that was, I think it was a week 9 or week 10 game, and Detroit they were winless. I think they were 0-8, or that game made them 0-8. I don't want to take anything away from the Eagles. They won this game. They had a lead by a margin. And it looked like the Lions. They jumped after the lead. If you remember, if you watched any of this, 1-yard run from Jamal Williams, they finished off a 75-yard drive for a 7-0 lead. The Eagles answered right back. They answered right back, and they did it convincingly. I think 13 plays, 75-yard drive for a tying touchdown, and it was Hurts. And when Hurts ran in for the end zone, he completely made this Detroit defense look dead, asleep. He walked into the end zone. And I expect more from this Detroit defense. We won't go there. We're going to go right to this game. And I'll tell you right now that Kevin O'Connell has made this Minnesota team much different. I liked Minnesota last week in the points. And if there was a team that was going to qualify as a challenger to Green Bay in the North, it was Minnesota. This is a team that's better defensively than they've been the last few years, and that was under a defensive-minded head coach. O'Connell, much more offensive-minded. Justin Jefferson, if you watch some of that game, he got 2 touchdown passes, 184 yards receiving, and in most situations, there was no one close to him. I think if you go by advanced metrics and best stats for NFL, you'll find that on most of his catches, there was not a defender within 7 feet, sometimes 10 feet of him. That's a big gap in the NFL at this level. And the Eagles offense, what they were able to do was just enough to win this game against Detroit. And in a nutshell, until someone slows Jefferson, and there's no film right now for Eagles, and what they did, I suspect the Eagles are going to play a little more man instead of a soft zone as Minnesota faced last week. So as high as I am on the Eagles, and as much as I like the Vikings, the coaching change to Kevin O'Donnell and his offense, they didn't have to show everything last week. They took a big enough lead that they could get pretty vanilla, and they did get vanilla against the Packers. What you're going to find, you get the Vikings at home getting points from the Eagles. The Eagles gave up 6.5 yards per carry against the Lions. That's the biggest concern for me. And again, this Philly team is better on both sides of the ball than they were last year, and they will win this soft division. However, going into Minnesota, Vikings win this game outright. Another team I don't think that needs the points, and everything's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess in Green Bay because now Minnesota's a team to contend with, and it's going to be a bigger, chaotic ruckus in Philly. Minnesota defeats Philadelphia straight up. You probably want to take the points in this because I think you can still get 2.5, maybe even 3 at some shops, and maybe by kickoff, that's what you're going to get. Again, our second, fade it with Finn. Fade. The Eagles support the Minnesota Vikings. And quickly before we go, this is typically the week 1 where we have, at least I speak to, overreactions and what you should overreact to and what you shouldn't. Quickly, don't overreact to the Falcons offense on Sunday and the engineering marvel of Marcus Mariota. Arthur Smith did a terrific job making and being creative and utilizing Mariota's skill set. But this Falcons offense isn't going to be explosive, despite what you might have seen or thought you saw on Sunday versus the Saints. The Saints team is not very good. Don't overreact to Detroit scoring 35 points. Philly's a little better than that. And I don't think you're going to see Detroit score 35. They may try, but I don't think you're going to see that very often. Don't overreact to the Bears' Week 1 victory over an expected postseason NFC title contender. They're not good. That game was played in 2 feet of water, and I'll make that as an excuse. San Francisco's better than the Bears, and the Bears aren't going to win a whole lot of games. That was a good win, but they're not going to win a whole lot of games. Don't overreact to the number 1 seed, Tennessee Titans, who lost. That number 1 seed they had last January, a mirage. This team's not very good. Not very good at all. And finally, whatever you do, Sooners fans included here, don't believe the hype that Baker Mayfield can save the Panthers from packing up and moving to Baltimore overnight. if Baltimore can support two teams, if they want two teams, Washington Commanders are enough of a headache. I'm Tony Finn. Thanks for dropping in WagerTalk TV and Fade It with Finn. We'll see you next week.